today. Then I found this article, and I was trying to find another one, but this one's a little longer. But Jimmy said he could pull us up. It's a gift article from the New York Times. And if you watch it on the New York Times webpage, it's like a story map where you scroll through and there's pictures in the background and stuff like that. It's a direct link. So you can see it opens up in this is what opens up in Canvas, but it sends you to a new web page. Okay. And it's a really big deal because this was one of the New York Times articles from 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years ago, was doing a series of cities that are drowning by sea level rise, and Jakarta is one of them. And now they're putting this plan into place to actually move the capital city to one of the other islands. And it's a really kind of a cool thing. It's Indonesian in terms of trying to unite this 17,000 islands over the size of the United States, trying to unite it as one population. So as you scroll down through this, this is a gift article here for y'all. It has a lot of great pictures, good stories here. It's like a story map. And they're moving to this city they're going to call Nusantara. And it's really kind of crazy to move all this, right? All these people, one of the biggest cities on the planet, and they're starting over from here. Okay. It's a really ambitious thing. We have not seen something like this since the 1950s and 60s, when Brazil moved their, and that's the 5th largest country in the world. They moved their capital from the coast, which I think it was Sao Paulo at the time. They moved it into the interior to the rainforest, like you see here, and made Brasilia. Now the 4th largest country in the world, Indonesia, is doing the same thing. Okay. And you could even listen to this if you'd like to. I'm not sure if you could download it and listen to it on your drive to work, but I guess you can right there, maybe. But as you go through here, it tells about this President Joko, who's been there for 7 years now. His term is up, and he's trying to make sure that this goes through. Jakarta is the city that is the capital, and it's right near Krakatoa, the Sunda Strait right here. And they're trying to move this capital, Nusantara, over here in Borneo. And you can see here, this makes this capital much more centralized for the rest of Indonesia. And if you don't know, you're going to read this week. Java, this island Java down here, is the largest, most populous, and most crowded island of the 17,000. Sumatra is this long island here, and it's populated, but not as much as Jakarta and Java is. And there's a lot of prime rainforest. Here's Tambora, here's East Timor, and then Borneo is this gigantic island with orangutans and all sorts of wild animals and really cool stuff, rainforest stuff. But and a lot of extraction of materials and oil and stuff. But they're trying to move their capital to start over because Jakarta is just, it's overcrowded, it's polluted, and it's being overrun by the ocean, okay, and then rising tides. So it's a pretty cool article. And you see there's Jakarta here, the water's right up there. You got the volcanic mountains on Java. But it's a really cool article with a lot of great pictures. And that's why I wanted to make sure you could at least skim this to get to understand what this is, okay? So it's pretty cool, but just understand the idea and you can skim through it. And I think it's, I was trying to get another article also about the elections because they're also having their elections for new president and they're doing like the whole cabinet and everything at once. So there's like thousands of people being elected and reelected. And President Joko is at his last term. I think they have 2 4-year or 2 8-year, 6-year terms, but he's at his last term. Okay. There's other cool readings in here. This one's from Vietnam, the Vietnam Express. Talks about how seniors are playing around with social media now and how it's kind of cool and kind of strange. And then there's the article about Jakarta right here, and that's the older one. Okay. So this region of Southeast Asia, as I pull up Google Earth in the background here, this region of Southeast Asia, and I'm going to leave this to the video slides that I have. because I seem like I'm just repeating myself here and there. What we're looking at here is a region that is two separate sections. One is the mainland, which is Myanmar. Your parents or grandparents might remember this as Burma, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Those are the four mainland countries in Southeast Asia. There's sort of, and this area is sort of the leftovers, sort of. It's a disparate bunch of islands, obviously, and cultures. But Myanmar has been ruled by a military junta. It was taken over, I think it was 15 or 20 years ago, maybe a little longer. There's Thailand, famous for the city of Bangkok and Phuket. And this is an area where you see all those movies about the 2004 tsunami that wiped out a lot of tourist areas here. And Phuket is one of them. Cambodia is famous for the killing fields and of the 1970s from post-World War, post-Vietnam or American War. It's also home to one of the most fabulous, fantastic, mystical civilizations. And in Cambodia, it's the Khmer Rouge were the ones in charge. It was, oh my gosh, it's right here on my tongue, the name of that ancient city in Cambodia. My wife's going to kill me. I don't know off the top of my head. Anyway, Jimmy and Leah is going to look that up for a second, but it's anyway, it's this gorgeous city that's built in. It was the center of power back in the 400s or 600s AD, and then it was abandoned, and then the jungle took it over. The rainforest took it over. Back in the 1970s, the Khmer Rouge, this communist sort of movement, took over and started killing anyone that had glasses, that looked educated, or anyone who had contact with the West. There's a really famous movie called The Killing Fields about the Cambodian genocide. And then, yeah, so that was post-Vietnam or American War. Laos is a landlocked country that has, it's sort of being pulled into the rest of the sphere. It's got the biggest river running right through it, the Mekong River. And then, of course, there's Vietnam, now one unified country, going from China all the way down to the Gulf of Thailand. Hanoi is the capital, but everyone might remember Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City in the south. And this is the city, this is the country that we had that civil war that we tried to put down. Actually, the leader, Ho Chi Minh, actually came to the United States for help after World War II, saying, we would like to start a new country, break away from France. We'd like to model it after the United States. We'd like to be very democratic. And the US said, no, France is our friend. They're going to get your colony back. Don't worry about it. So then Ho Chi Minh went to China to ask for help. And of course, China, the communists, were glad to help. And that led to the French Vietnam War and then the American Vietnam War starting in the 1960s. Then we leave the mainland area, and you can see here this peninsula, the Thailand Peninsula, ends here in Malaysia, this country that splits between the mainland and the island of Borneo. Okay. Oh, Caroline's here, good. Leah and Jimmy, did you find the name of that city?
Like
Cambodia?
Cambodia for city, for capital?
No, the archaeological city.
An archaeological city with archaeological city. It's going to be
Angkor Wat. Yes, it's Angkor, A-N-K-O-R.
Yeah.
Wat. Is it one T or two T's?
One T.
And which is one T right now.
One T, Angkor Wat. So
yeah.
Going back to Cambodia, Angkor Wat was the huge city that was, it was one of the biggest cities on the planet at the time. And for some reason, climate change, political uprising, it was abandoned. And then we found it, I guess, in the last 50 years. And it's one of the most beautiful archaeological cities on the planet. It's gorgeous. Welcome, Caroline. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're discussing what we're looking at here in Southeast Asia. Let me close this out and move over to Southeast Asia. So we talked about the mainland sections, and now we're going into the island sections here. You can see the big, gigantic, deep South China Sea, which all those hydrocarbons. Malaysia is a country that's split into two. And then at the very tip of the Malay Peninsula is the city of, and the country of Singapore down here. And that's a really cool, it's an entrepot trading city, because the only two ways to get from East Asia and Southeast Asia to India and to the rest of Europe and Africa is going through two locations. Like we talked about in Southwest Asia, we have the choke points. Here we have two major choke points. We have the Strait of Malacca, or the Malacca Strait, and there's the town of Malacca right here. And then the huge city of Kuala Lumpur, the home of one of the world's tallest buildings, or the Twin Towers, they call them now. So there's one passageway called the Strait of Malacca, and the other passageway is the Strait of Sunda, the Sunda Strait right here.
You know where all the oil goes through?
Yep. So all the oil from the Persian Gulf, from Saudi Arabia, from Egypt, all that stuff comes this way. And there's two ways to get to China, Vietnam, Philippines, Japan, Taiwan. One is through the Malacca Strait, which is famously notorious for pirates. And the other one is to go down through the Sunda Strait, which has the most famous, one of the most famous volcanoes in the world, right in the middle of it. And that is, what is that one? It's Krakatoa, right here. Krakatoa is this big, gigantic volcano that exploded, and big tsunamis and stuff like that. There is Krakatoa right there. We just had a nice big explosion, less than 5 years ago. So a lot of shippers don't want to go through this area with an active volcano there. So there's two places to go through. One is the Malacca Strait, one is the Sunda Strait. And of course, right near those, there's this gigantic city of Jakarta, which used to be a Dutch colony. And you can see how the ocean is just creeping up. It's just a ginormous city. It's not only having the ocean rising, but they're drawing so much water to drink that it's sinking down as well. Okay. The other major city, the other trading city at the other end would be Singapore, part of that Malacca Strait transfer section here. And then the huge city of Kuala Lumpur as well is right there. So this used to be, these two cities, especially Singapore, it became famous for trading, because all the ships from East Asia would come down through here. They'd all get together with all their goods and put them on one big ship, and then send it to Europe, to the United States, to the Persian Gulf, to India, stuff like that. So Singapore became a really, really big, important city. I think it's still one of the top 3 or 4 ports in the world. Okay. Then we move up to this oil country, Brunei, right here. It's a kingdom of Brunei. And then finally, we move up to the 14,000 islands we call Philippines. I've seen it both ways, where the word "the" is officially part of the name, because it's talking about the islands together. And then also I've seen it in official documents where it's just Philippines. And just like the Caribbean, the double letters at the second half of the word, Philippines with 2 P's. The big city here is Manila, which is to the north. Luzon is this big, gigantic island up here. For those who are into geography and geology, with physical side, we have the big volcano of Pinatubo that erupted in 1991, that drove out, where it is, there it is, you can see it right here, how big it is. It drove out the United States military, because we had 2 naval and air force bases here, one in Subic Bay, and then I think the other one was over here in San Fernando. And it got buried, you can see it right here. It got buried with these huge pyroclastic flows. Oh, there it is, Clark Air Force Base up here. Okay. So this got buried by these huge eruptions in 1991 from Pinatubo. So the the lease was not renewed, so we were out of the Philippines. Now they're asking us to come back to provide cover and security for against the Chinese, who, as we learned last chapter, are trying to take this whole area over to pull up hydrocarbons from the seafloor. Okay, and then finally, the largest country in the region, the fourth largest on the planet, just behind the United States, is the island nation of Indonesia. 17,000 islands stretching from the Andaman Sea all the way to Papua New Guinea, which is the western side of the island of New Guinea. Okay, so here's Papua and here's Papua New Guinea, which is a different country. And Papua New Guinea is part of Melanesia and Oceania, and Papua is part of Indonesia. You can see how many islands are here. Thousands of islands. So one of the things they talk about in some of these homeworks that you're doing is, how do you govern an area of the United States, but instead of having freeways and highways and stuff, you have 17,000 islands? And how do the people in West Papua govern and understand the people of Java, right? And how do they understand what it is to be Sumatran or Borneoan, right? Which is this big island here. Okay, so it's a big deal, and Indonesia for a long time was trying to rule with an iron fist, trying to enforce the laws of Java. And in the last 20 years, since the revolution they had in the 1998-ish area time, when they kicked out their president for 30 years or something, they're trying to reunify everything and sort of spread out the idea of not just Java, not just Sulawesi, but Indonesian. And they've done that by trying to relocate a lot of people on Java, which is the most populous, to these other islands. And now they're starting to understand that these other islands are part of Indonesia. They have their own identity. They have a little bit more control of their environment and their laws, which is, it's off the top of my head. Anyway, so they're trying to do that and trying to unite the country that way. Okay, so that is the section of Southeast Asia. That's just the beginning and then the introduction. Just make sure you look at those articles here, especially the Jakarta sinking so fast, because it ties in with some of your homeworks.